Tonight on Newswatch, confusion and debate. The Department of Justice appealing the end of the federal mask mandate on planes and public transit.
The CDC has asked the Department of Justice to appeal this ruling.
Here in Ithaca, the local airport and what they're doing with the drop of the mask mandate. Plus, after wild weather this week, thousands of people still without power in central New York. And President Biden announcing new aid to Ukraine.
I'm announcing another $800 million to further augment Ukraine's ability to fight in the east, in the Donbass region.
The sanctions as the fighting continues in eastern cities are hanging in the balance. And streaming woes, a new platform shutting down after less than a month after they hit the air.
Covering Ithaca in all of Tompkins County. From ICTV News, this is Newswatch.
Hello and welcome to Newswatch on this Thursday evening. I'm Andres Rendon.
And I'm Jordan Broking. Thanks so much for joining us. Tonight, there's confusion and debate over the federal mask mandate being dropped on airplanes and other forms of transportation. ICTV's Riley Garand is breaking it all down for us, joining us in studio. Riley?
Yeah, guys, there's a lot of confusion over masks and the end of this mandate. By now, we've all seen those videos of passengers and flight crews cheering with the restrictions dropped in virtually every major U.S. airline has dropped the mandate on board their flights. And in our area, the Ithaca-Tompkins International Airport is still requiring masks in the terminal as it's mandated on public transportation in New York State. The deputy director of the Ithaca-Tompkins International Airport, Josh Nally, said in a press release, "Our airport continues to follow state and local guidance to keep our passengers and employees safe. Masks continue to be required in the airport, and we encourage passengers to look at additional masking guidance both in Tompkins County and in the community they are flying to." And as for the federal mandate, the CDC recommended the Department of Justice appeal the ruling that a Florida judge made to strike down the mandate this week. The appeal means that the administration will head to a higher court to extend the mandate. In the meantime, flights on planes, trains, and buses will remain optional. That's all I have. Back to you guys at the desk.
All right, thanks, Riley. Robert J. DeFelice was sentenced today after pleading guilty to multiple charges after a hit and run last summer that killed 14-year-old Sophia Nickerson. He was sentenced to 7 to 21 years for aggravated vehicular homicide, a Class B felony.
That's right. 4 of Nickerson's friends and family spoke to the judge at the sentencing, explaining how their lives have changed since her death. Now, the judge noted that DeFelice was not given the maximum sentence of 25 years as he was experiencing untreated mental health problems at the time of the accident. And a spring nor'easter swept through central New York this week, dropping snow across the state. While Ithaca received only a few inches, other places like Onondaga, Binghamton, and Cortland receiving higher totals. Thousands of people are still without power across our region, according to NYSEG data. While NYSEG has restored power for all customers in Tompkins County, Broome County had over 13,000 customers without power as of earlier today. Also topping the list, Chenango County with 9,000 NYSEG customers still in the dark, and neighboring Tioga County with 2,800. And now we're taking a look outside.
After that wild weather earlier in the week, a pretty calm day and evening, as you can see overlooking Tioga Lake.
Jack Culkin is at the weather wall right now with a current look at the conditions and what's coming up in your full weather forecast. Jack.
Yes, guys, we saw almost all 4 seasons, and I'm not just talking about the Jersey boys. No, we saw 4 seasons of weather. We saw fall temperatures that led into a winter storm warning for counties surrounding Tompkins. Then that brought us right back into our spring temperatures, with temperatures hanging around the mid to low 50s. And now we're going to get an early glimpse this weekend of the potential heat we could be seeing come summer. But we're going to have that and a lot more coming up, as well as your full 7-day forecast. So just make sure to stay with us for a few more minutes, and I'll break that down for you. Andres and Jordan, back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Jack. Looking forward to it. And now last week, Governor Kathy Hochul has announced a new law allowing the sale of alcoholic beverages to go in New York State.
In attempts to help restaurant businesses recover from the pandemic, this new law will mean just that. For the next 3 years, New York bars and restaurants will be able to sell beverages for on-the-go consumption.
Now, open container laws will still apply, and businesses will be closely monitored to ensure the correct procedures are being followed.
Testing wastewater for COVID-19 is now possible in Tompkins County. Cornell's reopening plan from June 2020 was the first mention of the possibility of wastewater testing in the Ithaca community. Wastewater surveillance identifies COVID from both with those and without symptoms. Testing wastewater can help health officials understand whether infections are increasing or decreasing. And the Ithaca Police Department is warning residents of a Social Security scam. They say that scammers are calling local residents, claiming to be from the U.S. Inspector General Office. They are telling residents that they owe money to the Social Security Administration. When citizens question the authenticity of the call, the scammers offer to have an IPD member contact them to verify. Another scammer will then call back and use the real name of an officer. The caller ID also displays the IPD's phone number. The IPD is reminding residents that they would never call a citizen and demand money be paid for a fine or violation.
A newly released FEC report shows that local Democrats are leading in congressional primary funding in the race for the New York 22 House of Representatives seat. The report, which was released on April 15th, shows donations and expenditures for the year's first quarter. Josh Riley, Francis Connell, and Vanessa Fagans-Turner are currently the three highest donation recipients. Republicans Mike Sigler and Brandon Williams round out the top 5 of 8 total candidates across both parties. Josh Riley has a substantial lead, bringing in over $770,000. Francis Connell trails behind with just over $660,000, and the two stand sizably against Fagans-Turner, who has raised just over $250,000. And Governor Hochul's $220 billion budget was signed into law last week. One part of the budget is a move to make all new school bus purchases to be zero emission by 2027. And it also pushes to make all school buses currently in use to be zero emission by 2035. Now, New York State is the very first state in the country to implement such a requirement. The budget also includes $500 million through the Environmental Bond Act, and these funds will go directly towards supporting school districts in purchasing zero-emission buses and the related infrastructure.
Turning now to construction news and some new road closures in our area. The city of Ithaca announcing yesterday that the 400 block of Lake Street is closed to traffic to repair a storm sewer. Officials say the work is expected to last 2 weeks, ending on May 4th. And until then, drivers are being detoured over to Cayuga Street. Also in Ithaca, William Street will be repaved over the next month, with construction spanning from Eddy Street to Stewart Avenue. Those repairs are expected to end on May 27th. And a pandemic put a hold on most events and meetings at Cornell University. Now that the campus has opened back up, the rocketry team is one organization able to resume their work. ICTV's Jeremy Goldstein traveled to the East Hill, where preparations are taking flight for their first competition in nearly 3 years.
For the first time in 3 years, the Cornell rocketry team is putting their finishing touches on their rocket ship for an upcoming competition.
Finishing this rocket and finally putting this rocket together means it's a really big deal for the whole team. Just because since COVID, this is actually the first time we've put a rocket together like that for 3 whole years. I joined the team my freshman year 3 years ago, and this is the first time I've seen this.
The competition is known as the Spaceport America Cup, where Cornell will face collegiate rocketry teams all across the country.
So it's actually hosted by Spaceport America, the same kind of spaceport that Richard Branson flew to space at. So they host a collegiate competition where we compete against 150 other different collegiate teams.
Structure lead Emily Madison says she loves working with the entire team and really enjoys the different tasks they're faced with daily.
So my experience is really fun on the team. I love all the people I work with, and it's really fun because every day, just based on my sub-team, I feel like it's a different adventure in lab. Some days we are working on cutting the airframe and painting it. Some days we are manufacturing and designing bulkheads. Some days we are testing our separation system, and it's always a new adventure.
In the end, it's the bond that this team has that allows the strong chemistry to exist.
I love that the rocketry team is a family. We are all learning and growing together. We uplift each other, and I just think engineering projects are just bigger than any one person.
After a 3-year hiatus and with preparations still underway here in the lab, the Cornell rocketry team is ecstatic for their test launch in 3 days in preparation for their New Mexico competition. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Jeremy Goldstein.
Thank you, Jeremy. Now, with the federal mask mandate being dropped, airlines are expecting record surges.
Still ahead, how carriers are trying to make up for losses with the summer travel season coming up. Stay with us.
another $800 million in military aid today. The funding has shifted towards the eastern region of Ukraine, with cities like Mariupol under serious threat from Russian forces.
Yeah, the aid comes at a critical time and will supply the Ukrainian military with weapons. Here's what President Biden had to say about it.
Today, I'm announcing another $800 million to further augment Ukraine's ability to fight in the east and the Donbas region. This package includes heavy artillery weapons, dozens of howitzers, and 144,000 rounds of ammunition to go with those howitzers.
Now, if approved, the latest aid package will mean that the U.S. has committed over $3 billion in assistance to Ukraine since Russia's invasion began in late February. And Elon Musk is exploring new options to buy Twitter after a failed attempt to buy the social media giant last week for $54.20 a share, or about $43 billion. This time, Musk is exploring whether to commence a tender offer, according to a new securities filing. The filing says that Musk has received commitments for $46.5 billion to help finance the potential deal. Musk has not yet determined if he will make a tender offer or if he will take other steps to further the proposal.
Johnny Depp took the stand today as he was cross-examined by Amber Heard's legal team during his defamation case against his ex-wife. Depp testified about doing recreational drugs with the likes of Marilyn Manson and Paul Bettany. Depp's past text messages were presented as evidence where he referenced his substance abuse and alcohol addiction, calling them his monster.